The 2019 season got off to a very unexpected start. Very late in the year, I found out that I would be driving thanks to Asia Racing Team, or ART, in the 2019 Asian Formula Renault Championship, held in China and Malaysia. This is a championship that has been running for 7 years now, with many strong drivers in the championship. Successful drivers have graduated to do great things with their careers. The first weekend of the Asian Formula Renault Championship got started off in Zhuhai, China. Luckily I had a lot of support with me throughout the weekend, as you can see. Zhuhai being a track I'm quite familiar with, but this was my first experience ever driving a Formula Renault car, as well as being almost a year without driving an open-wheel car. First session was in the wet, which made things a little bit challenging, and unfortunately was cut short after I locked up and ended up in the gravel. On the following day, hoping to get back on track and finally get some good experience with the car. I felt quite good after free practice too, but still there was a lot of knowledge to learn in the car. As you can see here, Asian Formula Renault is a great series that's very well put together, very respected in all of Asia, and I was very honored to be a part of the championship. Getting ready here for qualifying, actually this was just after one single practice session in the car. As you can see, it was wet, so this was going to be my real first experience driving at speed in the wet, as free practice 2 was in the dry actually. So ultimately, weather was throwing things all around throughout the weekend, but we were able to get really positive qualifying, and I actually surprised myself with a P4 at the end. And it was awesome to drive the car. The Asian Racing Team made a great setup on the car through qualifying and throughout the whole weekend, honestly, and it made it for a great experience. At the end of the qualifying, you can see all drivers here. ART is great, team very respected. As you can see, we have a great fleet and a great driver lineup as well. I'm going over data with team boss Hudolfu. Just going over things from qualifying, what I could improve. We weren't too far off pole, and we were gonna push towards the end. You can see here, it looks a little awkward, but inside I was with my eyes closed, listening to music, as I usually do, and just visualizing the track as race 1 was about to get off to a start. As always, butterflies in your stomach. I hadn't done as I said, I hadn't driven a Formula car in almost a year, so I haven't done a standing start in almost a year as well. And as much simulator practice as I had, I was still a little anxious to get started. You can see as we go through the field here, P1, P2, P3, and then myself in P4 as we jump there. But lots of names, really stacked field, a lot of talented drivers, and it was going to be an interesting battle in race 1, and I was excited to see how we would do. Standing starts are tricky themselves, but finding traction in the wet made it even more difficult. But as you can see, as the rest of the field starts lining up here, anxious on the grid, waiting for the lights to go out and to start off the first race of the championship, and hopefully for a good season.
登面起跑，今天排赛第一位的就是艾德斯。艾德斯呢，今天起跑的反应还可以啊。在旁边的就是科特希尔，但科特希尔的起步呢，看起来
I had a fairly decent start here. I dropped back to 5th after starting 4th. One of my teammates went around the outside of me. Ultimately, I was on the inside, so I didn't have as much grip. But you'll see here, I try to hold my ground going into turn 3.
竞争力还有扩散器所带起来的这个气流。
And a little bit of a late braking move. You can't quite see me through the mist. Trust me, it was way worse in the car. But you can see I go around the outside there on turn 3, regain P4 in the race. So ultimately, this was the first experience. It had rained more since qualifying quite a bit. So I'm just trying to find the traction zones and the grip in the car with these new track conditions. Obviously, being in the wet, the track is constantly changing, and it made things very challenging. Always trying to find a little bit more speed and confidence in the car. So.
我们看到前面的第一台赛车呢，在进入9号弯的时候，有短暂的似乎轮胎锁死的情况啊，因为毕竟目前呢，整个中国车手王洋
Jumping a little bit ahead here, we have the Finnish driver up in P1, Joey Alders from the Netherlands in P2, and then my teammate Kurt Hill from Australia up ahead of me, and I was following in P4. This is the end of the first lap, but I was seriously putting a lot of pressure on Kurt throughout the race. Obviously, being teammates, we were being very cautious and courteous with one another, but it made things quite difficult. As you can see there, a little lockup, not being able to see exactly with so much mist in my face. Didn't really have a wiper blade either, so it made things quite interesting. But I held on for quite a ways in the race, just in the mist, quite literally, and just waiting for my opportunity to attack. Trying to find where I was a little bit at an advantage on the course and where I could make my overtaking maneuver. See the rain getting to some of the drivers made things quite tricky.
号弯到11号弯的这个小直线，但其实这边的这个雨势，其实我感觉要比在前面要大得多。
Yeah, full drift mode there, if you could tell. Really pushing. The car was great. It was quite fun to drive, obviously, in the rain, but really pushing hard. And just ultimately, I was struggling a little bit because I was stuck behind my teammate, and the 2 leaders were starting to take off, so I really needed to find an opportunity to get past.
刘泽轩现在是在第6位，已经是被桑德罗超越。
Yeah, we can see here, car went off, and I was able to take advantage of that. Just with a jump down the inside into turn 1, I got a good slipstream down the straight from my teammate and was able to get past him. As you can see, I'm ahead in P3 now. So ahead is still the Finnish driver, Dutch, and then myself. You can see up top there's 5 minutes to go in the race, so we were getting towards the end. And I felt I had some pace. I now didn't have any mist in my way, so I could really push and stretch my legs. Full visibility, somewhat visibility. And so towards the end of the race, I started pushing here quite a bit. You can see I've closed a considerable margin to P2. At the end, I believe I was catching about a second and a half per lap, so we were a lot quicker.
现在总体而言，赛道上的竞争已经没那么激烈了，毕竟大家都已经是拉开了差距。阿里亚斯真的有点像这个雨神的感觉啊，在湿地下进行比赛，他真的是非常有信心，速度也是超级快。
在情况来看的话，其实他没有做对前车，其实没有做出什么太大的。
So you can see here, really pushing hard on the under braking, trying to find all the grip possible. This is the final lap right here, so I was really giving it my all to get into second place, really pushing myself as much as I could. Trying to get a good exit out of turn 2, but I got a little bit of a snap in the middle. You could tell the car was a little unsettled. I wasn't able to quite get the run. Coming down into turn 8. Heavy braking.
会不会在比赛的最后一圈还会有一个激烈的竞争出现呢？出10号弯
Through turn 9, trying to use all the track possible. This might have been my last opportunity here, so I was trying to make the most of it, but I was a little too far back. I don't want to do anything too spontaneous. Now we settle out of the last hairpin on the track into the final corner, which is very high speed. A little bit difficult to find the speed and confidence in there in the rain. See here, jumping to the leader, and I do my best to get past into the final corner, and luckily I was able to get the second position. Really hard fought battle. I really pushed myself all race long, and I was really surprised that I was able to get P2. First race ever, single practice session in qualifying, and I was really happy with myself. Teammate ended up finishing P3 after the Dutch driver got slowed down in the final corner after the overtake. So Yeah, great celebrations. I was really excited, really happy. In this moment, I didn't know going into the championship how I would stand, but after this, I definitely knew that we could be contenders for the championship, and that really made me happy. That we could be back fighting for the top spot, which is ultimately what we deserve. And congratulating teammate, double podium for ART with myself and Kurt on the podium. It was a great result ultimately, and team was ecstatic. So.
我们现在应该能感觉到现场的雨势是在加大当中。
And then, as you can see here, the Senna Sempre, Ayrton Senna, if you don't know, my idol, best racing driver in the world. I'm very honored to be able to represent his institute and represent him, thanks to the Instituto Ayrton Senna, that gave me the privilege to represent the brand. And so I'm very honored for that, and you can see the commentators talking about that. That was great honor. So.
25年。
对，那么现在很多年轻的方程式车手，其实很多都已经，在他去世之前，去世之后才出生的了。
更正一下啊，刚刚我们采访的是 Kurt Hill 呢，在我身边的这位呢才是真正的 Bruno。那么他刚刚呢，就是也是从第4名拿到了第2名。我们来看他对自己的表现如何。So you are the 4th play and now you are the 2nd play. Finish the game. So how are you feeling?
That was great. We started 4th, really stuck in the water. It's so much water, the spray in my face. So it was really hard to get around my teammate Kurt for a little while there. But on the restart, I was able to get him into turn 1. And then from there, I just really focused and tried to get in my groove. I had no spray in my face, so I could push hard. And then we were able to get really close to the Blackguard's car. I don't know exactly what happened with him, but we were really close at the end. And I'm pretty sure that my lap times were up there with the top. So I'm sure if we could have gotten a better start and been up front at the beginning, it would have been even better. But it was a great result. Really happy. Both cars on the podium. So
Congratulations. 那么他就告诉我们听说。
So it was great to be back on the podium. I was familiar with this podium after my Formula 4 days. We won the championship here at this circuit, so great memories, and making even better ones now with the podium in 2019, just off the top spot. So now into Sunday, race 2. It was looking to be dry. It was off and on rain all morning long. Promise I'm just focused and not upset. As preparations got underway, ART was making sure that I had a great car set up for the dry. This is going to be my first official race, let's say, in the dry, in the Formula Renault. So, yeah, nervous, excited about it. Not sure what the right word would be, but. Again for race 2, starting P4. After qualifying from Saturday, I had gotten P4 for both starts. And on the right-hand side of the grid, it was still quite damp from the rain. It had been raining all day, so traction was not going to be on my side, and I knew that from the start. As you can see, the left-hand side of the grid is completely dry from the racing line, so we're going to do the most of it and push as hard as we could regardless. So. As we go here, race number 2 of the day. This one is really exciting, actually. I'll try not to talk too much, but it was quite intense in the car. As you can see, we're 3 wide right now. I get shoved over a little bit. I'm on the far left-hand side of the screen. I shuffle back. I'm out of view right now. At this point, I actually fall back to 6th. Not a good start at all. Obviously, traction was not good, but not a good start. Now we come into turn 3. Quite a big shuffle between P3 until P7, let's say. And we all shuffle back in line, in order here. Coming into a hairpin, so we all knew something was going to happen. Who was going to make the first move? As I poked out, I'm out of the image there, but I poke out, trying to get P5 back. There's a bit of a lockup there, and I end up getting into P5, but then turning it into P4 as the other drivers got a disadvantage. But we're now actually 3 wide coming down the back straight. Really intense, and I'm getting shoved in the middle there. Didn't want to hit either driver, so I backed out of it, trying to get a better run. So at this point, I had fallen back to 5th now. And then actually a little bit of contact you'll see just in the right hand side of the corner of the camera. I just lock up barely right there. It's really hard to see, but I actually damaged my front wing end plate, which ultimately bent the whole wing upside down and made me lose all the downforce that the Formula Renault provides. So, and just on one side of the car, so it made things really difficult to drive. I didn't know that was the case, but you can see here the cars ahead of me had a little bit of a shuffle. They didn't do as good of an exit out of the final corner, and I got a draft. Trying to be spontaneous and optimistic here, and I get 2 into 1 here. It's quite a difficult pass, trying to make sure I didn't lock up or miss the corner completely. Let's see who's next to me. I can't quite see. Yeah, this is the Hong Kong driver next to me. We're staying side by side, really tight. My teammate Kurt Hill with the big dive bomb down the inside. He gets 2 positions as well. So at this point, it was P3, 4, and 5 for ART racing. And obviously I had the disadvantage with the wing, which you can see right there. Big lockup from teammate. And yeah, that was probably one of the more intense first laps of my career. You can see there, big lockup. I had no downforce or aero pressure, so the front of the car was pretty much lifted, and I couldn't keep the front down. Fortunately, couldn't make the move back. I tried to keep it side by side, but didn't have enough room there. And then later on in the race, I started suffering some issues. Unfortunately, my gearbox actually failed one of the spring selectors, which allows the car to go into gear. I got stuck in 3rd gear at times. I would get stuck in 4th. I wouldn't be able to downshift, but it was a good first battle.
Bruno 在昨天的比赛里面可是亚军。
Talking here to engineer Yannick and team boss Carlos, just overgoing the situation. Yeah, it was on to the next race. And then there's my lady 2.0, all by herself, in the garage. Enjoying the humidity of Zhuhai, very warm, while in Utah it was still quite cold. And somehow snowing still in March, and seeing some local animal friends out on the road. Very famous is the Peking duck in China. Shopping mall in Zhuhai, which was really beautiful. It was a great experience as well to get to see China again after a while. I'll be back in June for race weekend 2 and rounds 3 and 4. Racing again in Zhuhai. Really looking forward to it, and I'm ready to improve and fight for that top step. Thank you all for the support. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Ciao.